Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. And today we're going to be talking with Brian Hamilton, who is chairman of LiveSwitch. And he is a leading expert on entrepreneurship, having started and sold and built many different companies. He's also a great humanitarian and he gives back. We'll talk a little bit about that in the episode. But what I want to share with you is Brian is not so much a customer service and experience expert, but he truly understands what it takes to make customers love you and want to do business with you. So we're going to be hearing from a guy that has built companies and recognizes no matter how good your product is, if you don't have the experience and service to support it, and if you don't have people that love what they do and love the customers, you are going to fail. All right, we will get into that interview in just a moment. But right now, a quick announcement. If you have an amazing story that you want to share or a question that you'd like me to answer, be sure to reach out to me on any social media channel because I'm pretty much everywhere. If it is a question, use the hashtag AskShep and I will answer the question there in the social channel. I will answer it on this show perhaps, or maybe I will write about it in my newsletter, the Shepherd Letter, which, by the way, everybody can subscribe to at no charge by just going to hyken.com, HYKEN.com. And while you're there, you will also get my free annual research report about what consumers are thinking about all of the experiences they're having with the companies that they do business with. All right, let's jump into the interview. Brian, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
Well, you have quite a pedigree or resume with all the different things that you've done. You're an entrepreneur, you're a philanthropist, your whole giving back is really, it's the brianhamilton.org website that you have, which explains a lot of what your charity work, and quite impressive. And I know we'll get into what you do in a moment, but I just want to share that there are we do annual customer service research every year. And there are customers that choose to only do business with companies that have a sense of cause or giving back to the community. So thank you and congratulations for that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Great to be here.
All right, LiveSwitch. What a great product. And so I'm going to let you describe it. And as you do, I want our listeners to think about, what's the difference between this and FaceTime? Or what's the difference between this and a Zoom call? So this is a video app that you use with clients. And I'm going to let you explain in a moment that actually, when you were giving me a bigger breakdown on it, after I did a little bit of research, I asked you, what's the difference between this and a Zoom call? You gave me some great insight as to really it's night and day difference. So Brian, let's talk about LiveSwitch for just a moment.
Well, this is easy. My last company, SageWorks, was really hard. It was an expert system. So this is super simple. We allow our customers to connect, Shep, quickly to their customers via video. So for example, let's say I'm a landscaper and you're a landscapee.
In other words, I'm a homeowner and I'm looking at my
exactly.
lawn and going, I need some work, trees,
exactly,
shrubs,
so I
beds,
will,
etc.
Yeah, exactly. So I will text you a link. No downloading of apps or anything like that. I'll text you the link. You click on it. We get instant connection. Now, where we're different from FaceTime, and it's notable and it's important, is we can communicate. If you're on iOS or Apple, I guess they call it, or I'm on Android, we can still communicate. And the other thing, it's important, we store all that data for our customers. So if you're a contractor or really any business, we have a library of all the videos you've done for before and after. There's a CYA aspect to it as well. But the key is the quick connection. And, I really want to I'm taking an opportunity here to move this into customer service. If I'm a landscaper, a tree service, or maybe I'm managing a property facility or whatever, and let's say that you're a prospect, let's just be really honest. I might be thrilled to drive out as a person in business to go give you an estimate, but are you really thrilled to do that? I mean, I would say, and I know this because I did this type of work in my 20s. I'd say probably not. You don't want contractors coming to you all the time when they don't really need to. So the point is that You get this to your prospect, and it eliminates the need for me as the contractor to drive out. I save money, I save time, but also, I'm not invading your home. So it's really taken off for us, and it's so simple to describe compared to my last company.
Now, I'm going to go a step further and ask, do you use AI to analyze the video, create a transcript, and then summarize the points so that you,
Yeah.
as the person who is the business owner or the rep or whomever, can look at that and just say, okay, now I know what my plan is?
Right. Yeah. It's funny. I was
Am I getting too far into the
No,
future
no,
for
no,
you?
man. It's all right. I don't want to turn this into an advertorial, but I mean, I was one of the early guys in AI. I really was. I developed an expert system. We'll talk about it later if it's relevant. But we're not using AI yet. I am very demonstrative and opinionated on the use of AI. I think now AI is popular, so everyone's like, okay, AI is important. Let's build a business around it. We will use AI to do exactly what you said. We'll probably be launching that sort of halfway through this year. But our core business, simplify, simplify, simplify for the customer, get the quick connection, do the video, and then record that in a library. And that's our core business. But I can talk about AI all day. I don't want to bore you.
We may come back to that in the second half of our conversation. All right.
Yeah.
You've got some unique customer service principles, and I would love to hear what those are. And I know that's what our listeners are tuned into for this show.
Yeah. Wow. And I was really looking forward to doing this one because if you've worked for any company that I've run, that's the thing. That's the thing. And there's so much background to this, but I'll start with this. It's so basic, but the principles are always basic. Really, if you're building any company, and you've got customers, right? And they're paying you money. You got to train people to be the customer, be the other guy, right? I've got to be Shep. Like now, I don't want to be Shep. I'm very interested in me, right? So even though this sounds so basic, you really have to get to the philosophy of how to build a company. I want our team to be the other guy, be the other. I want to be Shep, and then Shep wants to be me. But to really relate and customer service done the wrong way, in my view, and that's why I'm here, is we've got these scores now and metrics about customer satisfaction. We're doing surveys. Before you even start there, don't even think about that. Start with, I want to be the other guy. I'm here to serve the other guy. I'm about service to the other person, whether it's an employee or a customer. That's where you start. Now,
walk in the customer's shoes.
yes. No, but it all starts, I don't know if you can see it. It all starts with the heart. If we don't get our company and our staff in the heart on serving the other person, you're never going to, you can measure everything you want. You'll never get there. So it's the training and the philosophy of the way to look at people. And it sounds like BS. I don't know if I can say bullshit, but I just did. But it sounds like
if
BS.
you want to say bullshit, don't worry.
But very few companies do that. So it's really leadership, right? It's really leadership. Hey, quick story. And I'm going to hope that he listens to it or she listens to it. Do you know, I've been doing this customer service stuff for longer than I want to say. I build companies, that's what I do. And I personally like the quarter pounder with cheese. I think it's a good sandwich, I've been saying this for 35 years. Like you, I'm asked to speak about customer service and customer journey and how to do better. And I like the quarter pounder. I think it's pretty good. It tastes good. But the thing is with McDonald's, like every time you go there, I mean, not every time, but a lot of times, is the quarter pounder hot? Just get it hot, man. I mean, it's a pretty decent sandwich, but get it hot. Now, I've been talking about this for 35 years, hoping that somehow this would get to McDonald's because it's basically half-assed food served quickly and efficiently in the same way through the whole world. That's the business model.
But it's tasty. Half-assed.
It is.
You want to go? You like the quarter? I like the quarter pounder too.
Yeah, if it's hot. So, but the point is, I've been saying this, and you put it out in the universe and all that. But over 35 years, really, that hasn't happened. So
you've never had a hot quarter pounder?
No. You're a
In
detective.
35 years, you've never.
No. I'd say I'd say 50% of the time.
No.
But that ain't good enough, you know. So
Right.
you start with the heart. Hey, I'm here to serve Shep. I'm not here to serve me. That's hard to do. It's hard to get off of yourself.
So
But then
that's
it
what I call starting with the end in mind. And the end is the customer.
yes. And that
Not the
takes
money, the
yeah.
customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, in tech, it's boy, if you start at any tech company and you're great at customer service, my goodness, you're going to be successful. But going back to the quarter pounder, right? If our heart is good, then we're going to ask the customer questions and we're going to listen and we're going to improve our service by getting that quarter pounder hot. So literally, you know, I used to play football and you know, it's changed so much since I played. Now it's all passing and all that. But it used to be, well, blocking and tackling is the fundamental, right? The fundamental is we want people in our company who care about other people. Oh my goodness, we really interview people hard for that. Do you care? Because if you don't care, man, I don't care how many metrics you put on customer service, we're not going to get there. And the second one is always getting feedback from the customers all the time, listening to them and not arguing with them. Now, one last thing, by the way, 'cause I don't know where you want to go with it. One last thing. Let's say our hearts are good. Let's say we're asking them questions. Hey, how do I get better? Okay, you got to kill that little voice. You know that little voice, he's up sitting up here on your shoulder. The little voice is always, you're sort of arguing with them internally. Now, most of us are, most people are very nice people and all that, but most of us aren't going to argue, Shep, like directly to the customer, right? But inside, we're making these little rebuttal arguments. So don't you do that? I do it. Like, I don't know if you're married or you got friends or whatever. We're always,
You
know what I
say
mean?
yes, but on the inside, you're saying something completely different. Oh,
Yeah.
are we talking about spouses or customer service here?
We're talking about life, buddy. Brother, we're talking about life. Can you
We're talking
imagine?
about life.
Listen, can you imagine the world? I mean, wow. Like you go home and say you're married or say, well, honey, what can I do better to be a better husband or wife? Well, first of all, they're going to faint, right? Because we don't do that. We're always interested in what we want, right? But then if you actually did it, right? If you meant so you got to get the heart right. You got to ask the question, but then you got to do something. And let's be honest, really, most companies suck at this. They're not great at it. They're not great at it. They're okay. But you know, the guy he wrote the book Good to Great or whatever. I read that
Yep.
book.
Mhm.
I built these companies, and you have to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. But we get our hearts right. We ask our customers or our spouses or our neighbors, hey, how can I do better? And then we do it. And if we get those three down, oh my goodness, you are going to separate yourself.
Right. Well, we're going to take a break in a moment, but before we get into that, just a couple of thoughts that are coming to mind. Number one, if you are McDonald's and you sell a quarter pounder, and McDonald's does, there's a standard. It's expected to be hot. It's expected to have cheese. It's expected to have meat, whatever sauce you want, or they put on there. That is your product. You have to have the system and the product working. No matter how good that is, if the people, to your point, Brian, if the people don't have the heart to do what they're supposed to do, don't focus on that customer. And I always say, as I mentioned, start with the end in mind. If we've got a product and we're launching a company, we need to say, hey, I don't know if this is a great product, but let's go talk to a customer and let them tell us if it's a great product. Let them tell us how they want it served.
Wow, Shep, I know you got a break, but start at the end.
Yeah.
We're always starting in the beginning. We got this process, we got that. Start at the end, get the feedback from the customers, and then build back
Yep.
to the front. Yeah,
And by the way,
exactly.
once you start at the end with the customer, immediately look internally at your employees and say, to your point, because you had that little guy sitting on your shoulder who's got that internal voice who's creating conflict, you might be saying yes and smiling on the outside. But on the inside, this little voice is telling you the customer is not always right. Not that I believe the customer is always right. I've written numerous articles to say, get rid of that because it's not true. However, the way you handle and respect the customer, that's another story. Let's take that quick break. And when we come back, you're going to share with us some specific examples of how you do this. Because I think what you've just done over the last, gosh, it's only been 10 or 12 minutes, is you've unpacked a lot of philosophy and a thought process, a strategy. I want to get tactical when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Brian Hamilton, chairman of LiveSwitch and an amazing entrepreneur. This is Amazing Business Radio. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Shep Hyken here with an offer that won't cost you a cent. You may have heard me talk about my annual customer service and experience research. We've surveyed thousands of customers matching the U.S. Census for age, gender, ethnicity, and geography, and we find out what customers love, hate, and want in a customer experience. What's the number one customer experience that almost every customer desires? What makes them come back? What makes them leave? Why won't they fill out surveys? What do they think of AI? Well, these questions and more are answered in the research, which, by the way, is sponsored this year by RingCentral, a leader in global communications. You can download the full report by going to hyken.com and clicking on the research tab at the top. Like I said, it won't cost you a cent, but it may make you or save you thousands and thousands of dollars when you understand your customers' expectations. Again, the website is www.hyken.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We are back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Brian Hamilton, chairman of LiveSwitch and one of the amazing entrepreneurs of our world. Brian, you've shared a lot of ideas, and I want to get, as I mentioned before the break, I want to get tactical. I want to get specific. Do you have specific traits you look for as you hire somebody, specific expectations or techniques that you would suggest your people use? And I'm not talking about dealing just with complaints, but how they manage the experience with customers.
Yeah, I promise I'm going to not answer that, and then I will answer it. I promise.
Okay.
Who's the best customer service person in maybe the last 100 years? Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa.
Amen.
Right? Yeah, for
No
real.
pun intended.
Yeah,
Just an
seriously.
agreement.
But she was out with the people. She was not in an office. She wasn't, in a nonprofit. She's out with the customer. She's out there with them. So let me give you an analog to that. The last company I ran, SageWorks, everybody there thought I was nuts, and I can't imagine why, But we had a lot of banks, and now even more banks. I mean, banks throughout the whole U.S. were using our technology. Very successful company, frankly. And I started that company from an incubator, 100 square foot incubator. But I always went out to the customer personally. And this is a great question you're asking. I want to make sure I nail it for you, okay? Is when I say the customer, I don't mean, Shep, the bank. I'm talking about I wanted to go sit with the user. You
The
see what I'm saying?
customer's customer.
Oh, well, yes. So we had the banks. I mean, the president of the bank would buy our software. It's a big deal. We had some big banks. And so the first layer of customer service, I would say in this case, is not effective. I go see the CEO of the bank and we meet and smoke cigars or whatever these people do. And, oh, yeah, we really appreciate everything, all that. That's not meaningful. What's meaningful is for me to go to the actual person using the software, sit at the screen, like the Japanese say, belly to belly, sort of, you're right there with the customer. And then you ask them to do something like, hey, like this product here, I can't say anything negative about this product, but I'm in the video business, like I look at these things, and these guys started out pretty good, but they've gotten a lot harder to use and upload and all this other stuff. But I asked them a question: how would you do a chat on this? How would you, in the case of SageWorks, how do you do this financial analysis? And then I watch them and what they do, and you can see where they're getting stuck. You're asking a lot of questions. You're writing stuff down. Here is my point, especially in technology. The technology companies are the worst at customer service. Oh my goodness, horrible, right? You got to get with that customer, no matter how big you get. And when I say that, I mean the leaders of the company. They've got to be with that user, asking questions, writing it down, and then hopefully improving their process. Here's the challenge that, Shep, I've run large companies and dinky ones, and the problem with the customer service area is that people think they're going to put it in a process. They think they're going to put it in a process. And by the way, nothing wrong with processes and that types of things and rules of engagement and all that. But if you're not out talking with the people and you're not providing that process loop by getting the feedback, you're not going to get where you need to be. So anyway, specifically, all of our people go out and see customers. And by the way, I'm talking about engineers. I'm talking about customer service reps. I'm QA people. I mean everybody. I want to, if I'm selling to a storage facility, I want to be right with that storage facility owner or manager, seeing how they run their business, maybe even helping them for a day. And how many people do that? Like going back to the McDonald's thing, I hate picking on them. I actually don't, because I want this to get to these people. Is it how often does the CEO go and buy a quarter pounder? I mean, really, literally, like go buy it. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, and actually, there's three things. If we're going to talk about the CEO going out, which by the way, I love, everything you've said is go out, belly to belly, be with the customer. But if the CEO is going to walk into McDonald's or the CEO of Best Buy is going to walk into a Best Buy, I'm just these examples. It's important that everybody not know it's the CEO. Many years ago, I did some work with Morton's, the steakhouse. I was hired to speak at their international managers meeting at one of the most cool resorts in the world. And the client, the president of Morton's at the time, said to me, hey, have you ever been to a Morton's? Sure, I've been many times. Have you ever been VIP'd at a Morton's? I'm probably not. Okay. But he goes, I want you to have that VIP experience. So go to Morton's. And I went and made a reservation, went to Morton's. And here is the problem. I didn't get the VIP experience. I got the VIP experience that was set up by the president of the company. So to make sure that I got, and that's different. What would happen if I was just treated naturally as a real VIP customer without that input? And I think that's important. So for lack of a better term, mystery shop your own company, do your undercover boss type work, which I think is important for you to know. But here's what I heard you say, that, and I wrote this down. There's a difference between listening to the feedback from your customers, which, by the way, very important and you need to do, versus sitting next to the customer. Because the customer is going to say, you know what, I had a problem when I did this. Okay, we're going to fix that. But there's all these other little things that maybe they didn't talk about because they just tolerated it. So if you sit next to them, you might get a completely different idea. And by the way, sitting next to them is a metaphor for a way of getting next, and whether you're sitting next to them or spending a day with them, as you said, which puts you, when you spend time like you're talking about, it separates you because you no longer become a vendor to the company. You become a partner to that company.
And remember, Shep, well, we should talk about this for 8 hours, and I know we don't have that long, but seriously, when you're there, you're getting granular data that you could never get through video, even though we're a video company at LiveSwitch. You could never get on a phone. You're getting incredible information. Like when I would go out to the customers, and it wasn't BS. Hey, where are you from? Tell me about your family. Where'd you go to school and how long you've been working at the bank and blah, 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 blah. And you're getting all this rich feedback on the humanity of that person, right? And here's the fascinating thing. Oh my goodness. How many focus groups do we need? If you did that 30 times, if you were a CEO of a big company, 30 times, you would see a very common experience across 30 pieces of data. So, but the point is, you can't get that rich granular data unless you're with them.
Yep.
So,
and in a moment, I'm going to ask you my final question, but I'm going to tell you how far back this idea goes. For me anyway, I started my company in the 1980s. In 1988, 89, I wrote my first book, Moments of Magic. And in the book, I talked about Anheuser-Busch requiring all high-level executives to spend a day every quarter with a route salesperson or going out in the field and meeting the restaurant people who they sold beer to, or a grocery store, hotel, whatever. And I think, I can't remember what they called it.
I thought you were going to say to drink the beer.
That too. They, drinking a beer with your customer is a real important part of it. So that's, but that was, I mean, you think about it, it's not about mystery shopping. It's about, as you say, and you referred to it as belly to belly with the customer. Anyway, we are down to the final minute or so of our show. And Brian, you know the last question, and I hope you've been holding back some nugget of wisdom for us. So what's that final thing you want to share with us?
It's so abstract. You shouldn't ask me that. I let me say this. You got to love people. If you're going to be a leader, you better like people. Seriously, and I mean that. We got these people in DC, and like, what are you doing in there? Like you're a politician. You're supposed to like the people, and it's a matter of the heart. It really is. You got to like people. Now, some days you don't like everybody. I understand that, and you're aggravated, and the kids doing crazy stuff. But you got to really like people. And this is my final thought underneath that. What is the enemy to customer service? Listen, I've been thinking about this for 40 years, right? I got a head start. What's the enemy? Pride. The enemy is pride. We want to be right. Shep, you want to be right. I want to be right. You got to be breaking down the pride. You got to understand that your organization is not perfect and that you're not perfect. Now, once you recognize that, now I'm open. I started an organization real quickly, Inmates to Entrepreneurs. 32 years ago, we help people start businesses when they get out of prison because they can't get jobs. The first thing we look for is, are you open? What's your pride level? If your pride level is up here, we can't help you. But once you get that pride down, now you're open. Now we can teach you.
That is a beautiful way to end. I wrote this down. You gave us so many great ideas throughout the interview today. I'm going to write an article about this. By the way, I will definitely honor you and attribute this idea. And I'm going to blow this whole thing up that the enemy of customer service is pride. Love it. Brian, thanks for being on the show.
I'm going to go grab a quarter pounder with cheese.
And I hope it's hot. Thanks for being on the show. All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We will be back next week. And until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.